Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Tasting Room. Today I thought we'd crack open a bottle of the Goose Island Bourbon County Vanilla Stout. So traditionally a lot of people think of beer as being more of a summertime or a warm weather type of beverage. But lately the weather's been cooling down. We're starting to get ready for autumn, and in the autumn and the winter months when it's a little bit cooler, for me, the best time of the year to start breaking out the bourbon barrel-aged beers. Now, for all of my viewers that are, not from around here, or from out of the country, and maybe unfamiliar with this concept, I'll break it down a little bit for you. So, in America, we're a little bit spoiled with our craft beer. There are craft breweries popping up all over the place. I've got a couple in my town here. I've got 3 or 4 in every adjacent town. There's all over the place. There's craft beer, and they're all in constant competition with one another in this market, which makes this wonderful for the consumer because it gives us nearly infinite options of just fantastic beer. Now, in addition to creating all of this craft beer, some manufacturers have taken that a step further and wanted to take like their stouts and their porters, the darker beers, and give them an even bigger punch of flavor. So what they've done is they've rested their beers in ex-bourbon barrels to gain some additional flavors from the bourbon, from the charred wood, and really just makes it a wonderful drinking experience. So this trend started to gain a lot of popularity a number of years ago, but one of the original producers of barrel-aged beer is Goose Island, made right here in Chicago. And it's really kind of gathered a cult following. There's a highly anticipated annual release every year on Goose Island. I think does their release on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, in America. And there are, as you can imagine, very limited quantities, and they'll usually do maybe between 5 and 10 different varieties of this barrel-aged beer every year. And in order to get their hands on it, you go to any local liquor store where you think they might get a couple of cases of Goose Island Bourbon County, and they'll get there, sometimes 3, 4 in the morning, and be lined up outside of this liquor store waiting for it to open in anticipation of this release. It's really quite an experience. Some people bring different beers of their own and do a little bottle share, while they're waiting in line. If I remember correctly, this past year was particularly cold, and boy, I don't think I got to the liquor store until almost, I think it was a little bit before 7 a.m. And there was already a line wrapped halfway around the binnies. So unfortunately, I didn't get all the varieties that I wanted, but I did get away with something. In the 2018 year, I was actually on vacation, and a buddy of mine, Jeff, went around and was able to get his hands on a couple bottles of most of the varieties, and I paid him back for giving me one of each. So this one here is a 2018 vanilla. So it's a stout aged in bourbon barrels with vanilla added. And if you're wondering why, Tom, why are you drinking a beer from 2 years ago? Doesn't it go bad? Well, it's not going to retain all the CO2 that it had when it was freshly bottled, but a lot of collectors will collect this beer and will age it for another couple of years, usually between 1 and 3 years. It says some of them will develop for up to 5 years in the bottle. Um, I, I generally find that I don't have good luck waiting that long to open a bottle, but you know, 1 to 2 years is usually the sweet spot. You know, those the flavors from the aging in the bourbon barrels, the flavors will sometimes develop and change. So you know, I've had all of these on tap at local bars when they first came out. You know, to kind of get the baseline in my memory here, and I'll take a couple of bottles of each home and age them for another year or two. And you know, if I've got enough bottles, you know, maybe I'll open one every year to see how the flavor is developing or progressing, or if it's losing anything. Because sometimes, you know, it's aging beer is a gamble. Sometimes it'll go the other way on you, and it'll lose a lot of its flavor. And I've had some, you know, 2 3 year old beers where it was fantastic when it was first bottled, but you know, very disappointing a couple years later when you're sitting on a couple of bottles that you've paid. I mean, Goose Island is by no means the most expensive barrel aged beer, but these will go for, you know, $20 to $30 a bottle, just retail. And then you'll have the people that'll get their hands on a bunch of bottles and mark them up $200 to $300 and sell them online, and we don't like those people. Are you watching? I'm talking to you. But anyway, that's a little bit of the story behind barrel-aged beer here. Another thing to note, I took this out of the refrigerator about... So I don't age them in the refrigerator. I'll age them, you know, in a cool, dry place, usually in the basement or something, away from sunlight, away from excessive heat. And when I'm getting ready to drink them, I'll throw one in the refrigerator, you know, to get it chilled. There's nobody likes super warm beer, but I will take it if I'm going to drink a barrel aged beer. I will take it out of the refrigerator about an hour before I'm going to crack it open, just so it comes up to temperature a little bit. I mean, I'm no expert, you know. I would say that I'd want to drink something like this at about, you know, 50 something degrees. You know, because you do want it to warm up a little bit, just like a whiskey. You want it to warm up a little bit so the aromas start coming out of the glass. You know, you get, I mean, when something's at, you know, 38 degrees, you can't smell it, you can't taste it. You know, that's why I don't add ice to my whiskey. Okay. So far, this is not disappointing. You can still smell that vanilla. It hasn't faded quite as much. I was worried. I opened a vanilla one first because I was worried. I've had vanilla barrel-aged beers that have just lost all trace of that vanilla after a couple years in the bottle. This one seems to have retained it nicely. Also getting some notes of chocolate, a little bit of woodiness. I like it. Okay, good chocolatey flavor here. A bit of a caramel sweetness. The vanilla's still there, but it definitely wasn't as powerful as it was when it was first bottled. Obviously, I don't have a side-by-side comparison, but I remember this having a pretty powerful vanilla. Yeah, if you've got a 2018 laying around, I don't know if I'd wait another year, unless you're planning on doing a vertical. boy, this is good though. Very flavorful. I think it aged nicely. Some good oak and bourbon flavors. And, the aging has definitely served to calm down any booziness. This is not boozy at all, flavor-wise. And this, that's one of the reasons I think a lot of people don't like barrel-aged beer, is because it can come off as very boozy. Not so much as, say, a barley wine, but for instance, this here is bottled at 14.9% alcohol. That's another thing with these barrel-aged beers. It's not something that you're going to sit and drink a six-pack of. This is almost 15% alcohol. That's a one-and-done kind of a beer if you want to continue to taste it. And I assure you, when you're paying top dollar for beer, you want to get as much flavor out of it as you can. Alright, yes, very good. So in conclusion, I think this 2018 Bourbon County Vanilla Stout here is aged quite nicely. Again, I don't know how it's going to be in another year. If you got a couple bottles, maybe you want to crack one open this year. Maybe you want to save one for next year just to see. Who knows? But I have found that the Goose Island Vanilla Stouts they do add a ton of vanilla punch right up front just to combat that aging process there. So very good. Very happy with this beer, and if you have a bottle, I hope you will be too. So that's all the time I have for you today, folks. I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of this. If you like this video and want to see more barrel-aged beers, hit that like button for me, or leave a comment in the comment section down below. I'm trying to mix up the channel a little bit with some newer, fresher material. I still do, booze reviews, mainly whiskey, mainly on the weekends. But I'm trying to throw in some different content during the week. So I'd love to know your thoughts. Also, if you're not already a member of my channel, be sure to hit that button and subscribe. And then after you do, make sure you ding that little bell next to the subscribe button to make sure you get notifications of new videos that come out. Like I said, new videos come out on the weekends, and I would hate for you to miss one. So go ahead and do that for me, and I will see you again next week right here on The Tasting Room.